When we went to try to figure out whether will to fight is imponderable or not, we interviewed Al-Qaeda fighters, captured Al-Qaeda fighters. We interviewed Nusra, Al-Qaeda, but not captured. We did experiments with them, and then we did experiments with those fighting them. We did experiments with PKK, we did experiments with Peshmerga, experiments with the Iraqi army, experiments with the Sunni militia. And what we find again in each of those cases is those with the highest degree of both the devotion to sacred values and to a group of comrades are those most willing to fight and die. We first talked with fighters of the Islamic State who had been captured. And these were all local fighters, because foreign fighters, it's very rare they're captured at all because they're motivated for different reasons. They usually blow themselves up or booby trap their bodies, or if they are captured, they're usually executed in short order. A Kurd who captures them will say, so you came from Germany or France to kill us? Bang, you're dead. While for locals, they try to keep relations open with the tribes, so that even if you have a local ISIS guy who's done terrible things, they will even bring them to trial. So all of the interviews we had with actual ISIS fighters were with local fighters. And of course, they're captured. And so we have to ask questions a little bit differently than we ask for non-captured fighters. First, we do a fusion experiment, whether they were fused with their group or not. And then we asked how those in their fused group feel. So they don't have to incriminate themselves, nor do they have to pretend and posture, because maybe there's a way out of here or whatever. And they're fairly honest. And of course, you can usually monitor this through things like voice stress, reading emotions on the face, all sorts of ways of doing this. Although when we film it, if we do film it, they're masked to cover their identity. And then we run through the set of experiments. Experimenters come into the room, one taking the notes, the others are actually running the experiments, and we go through a battery that often lasts an hour to 2 hours. So one of the measures we have is based on evolutionary theory. Remember I said when people are fused, they tend to think of themselves and their group as bigger and bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and their enemies as weaker. Of course, that lets you fight better. So we have this experiment where we have bodies that get increasingly tall and strong in musculature, and we go through a series of these bodies, and we ask people to rate their group, and to rate the other groups. And we do this on an iPad. The advantage of the iPad is it's continuous, so you can just go like this, and the body becomes bigger and bigger or smaller and smaller, and gives an automatic mathematical value to wherever you are on the scale, and makes statistical analysis much, much easier. Well, we use both of these techniques. They're pretty much the same in terms of their results. And what we found was when we asked the PKK and the Islamic State to rate the physical formidability, the physical strength, remember in terms of musculature and height, they'd say, we're not going to do this. And they said, well, everybody else is doing it, why aren't you doing this? They said, because it's not important. What's important is the spiritual, the spiritual strength and formidability. That's the only thing that counts. So that was very interesting. So then we decided we'll simply reframe the same experiment and now pit physical strength and formidability against spiritual strength and formidability. So now they're going to rate on the iPad, each one, depending on whether it's spiritual strength or physical strength. Anyway, all the groups rated, for example, the Americans as physically at maximum strength and spiritually middling, whereas all rated the Islamic State as physically small, but spiritually maximal. So that led us to believe that the mistake in underestimating the Islamic State and overestimating the Iraqi army, or the imponderability of human conflict, owes to just neglecting the spiritual dimension of conflict. And that spiritual dimension is determined by these two factors, devotion to sacred values and fusion with your group.